All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning, I'm Valsa Williams. The headlines. Cabinet hikes minimum support price for all Rabi crops for 2018-19 season with the aim to double farmers' income. Russian President Vladimir Putin arrives in New Delhi this evening for the 19th India-Russia Annual Summit. President Ramnath Kovind pitches for reforms in United Nations Security Council in his meeting with UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres. RBI allows state-owned oil companies to borrow long-term working capital from overseas. Kulbhushan Jadhav case to be heard from 18th to 21st February next year, says International Court of Justice. And in cricket, the first test of the India-West Indies series begins in Rajkot this morning. The Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs has increased the minimum support price MSP for all Rabi crops for the current financial year, which will be marketed in 2019-20 season. Briefing media after the Cabinet meeting in New Delhi last evening, Agriculture Minister Radha Mohan Singh said the MSP fixed by the government is much higher than the cost of production. Mr. Singh said,
इस बार 19-20 में विपणन की जाने वाली 18-19 मौसम की जो रबी की फसलें हैं उसके लिए न्यूनतम समर्थन मूल्य हेतु कैबिनेट ने मंजूरी दी है। गेहूं पर 105 रुपये, जौ पर 30 रुपये, चना पर 220 रुपये, मसूर पर 225 रुपये, तोरिया एवं सरसों पर 200 रुपये और कुसुम पर 845 रुपये की वृद्धि की गई है।
Union Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad termed the decision as a step towards doubling farmers' income.
By increasing the MSP today, the farmers of India will have an additional income to the tune of 62,635 crores. Today's decision embodies the commitment of Shri Narendra Modi-led India government's commitment for the welfare of the farmers to ensure additional income.
The Cabinet also approved the Bhopal and Indore Metro Rail project at an estimated cost of around 7,000 crore rupees each. The Cabinet also cleared the redevelopment of railway stations by Indian Railway Stations Development Corporation Limited. The program will help provide state-of-the-art amenities for passengers and generate additional revenue. Russian President Vladimir Putin is arriving in New Delhi this evening on a two-day visit to India. During this stay, Mr. Putin will attend the 19th India-Russia Annual Bilateral Summit tomorrow. He will also hold delegation-level talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Both leaders will deliberate on a range of regional and global issues with a focus on further boosting the bilateral ties. Here is more from our correspondent.
After the talks, several agreements are expected to be signed between the two countries. During the visit, the Russian president will also address the India-Russia Business Summit and will interact with a group of children. Before leaving for Moscow, Mr. Putin will have a meeting with President Ramnath Kovind at Rashtrapati Bhavan. The last India-Russia Annual Bilateral Summit was held in June last year during the visit of Prime Minister Modi to Russia. In May this year, Mr. Modi had travelled to Russian coastal city of Sochi for an informal summit with Mr. Putin. With Divakar, Gulshan Rawat, AIR News, Delhi.
United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres called on President Ramnath Kovind at Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi yesterday. During the meeting, Mr. Kovind said no reform of the UN will be complete without the reform of the Security Council. The President said the current permanent membership of the Security Council does not reflect the contemporary global realities. He emphasized that the Council's membership and work methods need to be updated to equip it to face the challenges of the 21st century. Mr. Kovind said India believes in a globalizing world. Multilateralism is indispensable and India remains committed to it. However, he said, to India's understanding, multilateralism and global governance in their present form are not working effectively. The Reserve Bank of India, RBI, has allowed state-owned oil companies to borrow long-term working capital from overseas. The Apex Bank has relaxed the policy on borrowing up to $10 billion from the overseas by the state-owned fuel retailers. Till now, oil marketing companies including Indian Oil Corporation, Bharat Petroleum Corporation Limited and Hindustan Petroleum Corporation Limited were not allowed to raise external commercial borrowing ECB for working capital needs on a long-term basis. Now the RBI has allowed them to raise ECB of minimum maturity of 3 or 5 years. The move comes at a time when international oil prices have hit 4-year high and the rupee plummeted to close at an all-time low against the US dollar. Surveillance has been increased in Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra and Telangana after traces of poliovirus type 2 were found in some batches of oral polio vaccine manufactured by a Ghaziabad-based pharmaceutical company. The Union Health Ministry said a constant vigil is being kept in these areas and it has ordered a probe into the matter. The ministry, however, asserted that the country remains polio-free. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts. The case of Kulbhushan Jadhav, the Indian national who was sentenced to death by a Pakistani court on spying charges, will be heard by the International Court of Justice, ICJ, from the 18th of February to the 21st of February next year. The United Nations principal judicial organ, based at The Hague, will start hearing the case more than a year after it stayed the former Indian Navy officer's execution by Pakistan. In a press release, ICJ said the hearings will be streamed live in English and French on the court's website as well as on the UN's online television channel. Jadhav has been accused by Pakistan of espionage. India denies all the charges and maintains that Jadhav was kidnapped from Iran where he had business interests. India and Pakistan have already submitted their detailed pleas and responses in the ICJ. The ICJ has ordered the United States to ease sanctions it reimposed on Iran after abandoning a nuclear deal in May. The court ruled that the U.S. should remove any impediments to the export of humanitarian goods, including food, medicine and aviation safety equipment. The U.S. said it already allowed humanitarian-related transactions. U.S. President Donald Trump had in May announced a renewal of U.S. sanctions after abandoning the multilateral Iran nuclear agreement over its ballistic missile program. Following the sanctions, Iran had filed a lawsuit against the U.S. at the ICJ in July, arguing that the sanctions violate the friendship agreement signed in 1955. Meanwhile, hours after the ICJ ruling yesterday, the U.S. decided to terminate its 1955 Treaty of Amity. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said the move was in response to Iran's decision to drag the U.S. to the ICJ. He said Iran is abusing the ICJ for political and propaganda purposes. The Meteorological Department has forecast heavy rain at isolated places over Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Puducherry in the next 3 to 4 days. According to the department's weather bulletin, a low pressure is likely to form over Southeast Arabian Sea tomorrow, and it is likely to concentrate into a depression and then into a cyclonic storm. Under its influence, the coastal areas would witness strong winds between Saturday to Monday, and fishermen have been advised not to venture into the sea. A red alert has also been issued in Idukki, Thrissur and Palakkad districts of Kerala, while a yellow alert has been issued in most of the other districts. The Met Department issues yellow alert for a forecast of significant rain and red alert for a forecast of heavy rain. An emergency meeting was convened by Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan, alerting the coastal population and fishermen. Talking to reporters, the Chief Minister said necessary instructions have been given to district collectors to set up relief camps in hilly areas by tomorrow, as there is a possibility of landslides. He also asked the State Disaster Management Authority to take steps to meet any eventuality. The Maharashtra government has accelerated its speed to bring a digital revolution. Under the Digital India program, it is aiming to connect all 28,000 Gram Panchayats in 36 districts of the state through Internet by the end of this financial year. Digital India is a campaign launched by the Centre to provide government services online to citizens. Here is a ground report from our Aurangabad correspondent.
Out of 28,000, 26,000 Gram Panchayats have already connected with optical fiber connectivity, which is helping the villagers to get 27 various documents like birth, death certificate, construction permission, tax invoice, etc. in digital form within a few minutes. Srimati Priyanka Lokhande, a sarpanch from Jatwada in Aurangabad district, told that these digital facilities have proved very useful for public and even Gram Panchayat administration.
लोगों में डिजिटल इंडिया के प्रति बहुत जागरूकता निर्माण हो रही है। गांव के सभी बैंक खातेदारों के पास एटीएम, डेबिट कार्ड, क्रेडिट कार्ड है। गांव के दुकानदारों ने अपने दुकान में स्वाइन मशीन लगाया है, तो कुछ दुकानदारों ने बारकोड के जरिए ऑनलाइन पेमेंट का पर्याय चुना है। गांव में सीएससी सेंटर के तहत सरकार की सेवाएं इंटरनेट द्वारा पहुंच रही है और हमारी ग्राम पंचायत भी जो ऑनलाइन हो चुकी है, तो गांव के लोगों को भी उसका बहुत बड़ा फायदा हो रहा है।
After villages digitalization, government in process to impart quality education. Ramesh Jaibai, AIR News, Aurangabad.
The Howrah Kalka Mail has been upgraded with Utkrisht coaches and it was received at the Old Delhi railway station last evening. Talking to AIR, Railway Board Chairman Ashwini Lohani said the railway's Utkrisht project is aimed at upgrading the rakes of mail and express trains. He said the railways plans to upgrade 140 rakes of mail and express trains in the first phase, adding that the upgradation involves giving both interior and exterior facelift. Mr. Lohani said,
खास तौर से टॉयलेट्स का जो फ्लशिंग सिस्टम है वो इम्प्रूव किया गया है और इसमें हेल्थ फॉसेट वगैरह है, स्टेनलेस स्टील की फिटिंग्स हैं, फ्लोर मैट है, फिर इसके जो गैंगवेज हैं, एम्बियंस है, वो इल्यूमिनेशन लेवल्स इम्प्रूव हो गए हैं और बहुत ही मिनिमल कॉस्ट पे इसको किया गया है। करीब 60 लाख पे पूरी ट्रेन कवर हो गई।
In cricket, the first test of the two-match series between India and the West Indies begins in Rajkot from today. The game will begin at 9:30 a.m. Team India, the number one side in tests, will be looking to ensure that they do not lose any points and maintain their numero uno position ahead of South Africa in the longest format of the game. India had announced a 12-man shortlist on the eve of the test. 18-year-old Prithvi Shaw has been included in the squad and is in line to make his test debut. Ravichandran Ashwin, Ravindra Jadeja and Kuldeep Yadav are the three specialist spinners with a pace pairing of Mohammad Shami and Umesh Yadav. And now for an overview of today's newspapers, it's over to Abhishek Kumar.
Thank you, Valsa. Mayawati's no to alliance with the Congress in the upcoming assembly elections is the lead in most dailies today. Mayawati rules out state poll packs and blow to Congress, leads the Hindustan Times. The Times of India quips, cut bandhan. Maya rules out tie-up with Congress for Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh polls. On day one, CJI raises bar for urgent hearing in Supreme Court, notes the Hindustan Times. The Hindu writes, Chief Justice Gogoi rings in change in Supreme Court, while the DNA says Justice Gogoi made it clear that PILs questioning every decision and activity of the government will not be entertained. Day after pharmacists stir, government increases MSP for Rabi crops, states the Hindustan Times. The Indian Express writes, Eye on state polls, ear to protest, government hikes MSP for Rabi crops. Markets, rupees sink in tandem as crude fears rock Dalal Street, leads the Economic Times. The Pioneer reports, rupee touches bottom, markets tank, RBI scurries into action. First batch of 7 Rohingyas to be deported to Myanmar today is the lead in the Times of India. The Pioneer states, India to deport 7 Rohingyas as Supreme Court rejects instant hearing. Supreme Court asks government to act as virus threatens Gir pride with extinction. The Pioneer reports of the mysterious death of 23 lions in Gujarat's Gir sanctuary in the past 3 weeks. Phone use banned on Lithuania streets for phone-addicted pedestrians as the Baltic country seeks to curb traffic deaths, notes the Tribune. Flights to be hit for 15 days in November with Delhi runways shut for repairs with around 100 flights likely to be affected, informs the Hindustan Times. And finally, soon your face will be your boarding card to board a domestic flight in India, writes the Times of India, as the government has zeroed in on facial recognition as the biometric to be used for giving passengers paperless entry into airports. And with that, it's back to you, Valsa.
Thank you, Abhishek. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Cabinet hikes minimum support price for all Rabi crops for 2018-19 season with the aim to double farmers' income. Russian President Vladimir Putin arrives in New Delhi this evening for the 19th India-Russia Annual Summit. President Ramnath Kovind pitches for reforms in the United Nations Security Council in his meeting with UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres. RBI allows state-owned oil companies to borrow long-term working capital from overseas. Kulbhushan Jadhav case to be heard from 18th to 21st February next year, says International Court of Justice. And in cricket, the first test of the India-West Indies series begins in Rajkot this morning. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a nice day.